All right, folks, officially 2-0 as a professional MMA fighter, fighting and getting the submission W in the first round by rear naked choke this past weekend. Please welcome Ian Allston. Ian, my man, great to talk to you again.
Jake, I am glad we are meeting again under the best possible circumstances, my friend.
Hey, man, I would have met with you if you had two black eyes and a broken jaw, but yes, very glad it's under these circumstances.
Would have been a quiet interview if that was the case, but
yeah, a little bit quiet. So yeah, dude, like I said, congrats, man. Got the first round submission at Cage Fury 112. We'll talk about the fight plenty, but how you feeling right now? I mean, you only fought for 4 minutes. I assume recovery is pretty cake.
yeah, I mean, anytime you fight, no matter what, I always come out the other end feeling like I got hit by a truck. So I'm still pretty tired now. And the day after, so after a fight, you go out and drink with your friends and your family. I got in at like 3:30 in the morning. I was in bed by 4. And then I popped right back up at 9 because I had to get ready and go down to Stellar Fights in Delaware because one of my teammates, my main training partner, Ken Purvis, he was fighting his second amateur fight down in Delaware. So, I immediately had to run out and make it another late night. Yeah, but I've been sleeping in all week, kind of eating whatever. And then I'm back to the gym on Monday, back on my bullshit, as they say.
Yeah, man. Crazy stuff, dude. And I mean, like I said, you only fought 4 minutes, but you had a whole training camp before that. So for whatever reason, our brains say, hey, I don't feel this camp. I don't feel this until the day after the fight. Then you're just like,
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, 100%.
Glad you didn't have to go in there all 15 and you could get it done a little easier and start recovery sooner. But yeah, man, you seem in great spirits. You're smiling, you're glowing. Happy to see it. Before we talk about the fight itself, why don't you just tell me a little bit about that night at 2300? Like, I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. I watched it on TV. Seemed like it was bumping. Crowd was involved. Every fight was awesome. What was it like being there?
Dude, it was packed.
Yeah.
It was like I've been fighting at the 2300 since I started fighting MMA in 2018 when I made my amateur debut. And that place I have never seen it that full of people because you had me, you had a couple of the Dante Rivera guys like Jerry Leshy and Luke Fern. Mm-hmm. Those guys sell tickets. I always sell at least 100 tickets. Eric Nolan, he moves a lot of tickets. Fucking Riley Palmer, one of my teammates, that dude packs the house. So that was the most packed I've ever seen the 2300. And I'll tell you, bro, it was fucking hot. It was hot in there.
Yeah.
When we talk about the fight, I'll talk a little bit about how that felt in the cage. But when I say I had people telling me afterwards, they were like, if you looked up at the lights, you could see the humidity rising in the air.
Damn, man. I mean, it's been hot in Philly too. So I'm sure it's like an old warehouse,
Yeah, it was brutal, man. But, it was the energy was crazy. Everybody was having a great time. It was all banger fights, lots of finishes, lots of wars. So I'm just happy to have been able to put on a show just like the rest of everyone else.
And I believe you were the only Renzo Gracie guy on the card, right?
No. So we had technically Riley Palmer is affiliated.
Okay.
He's at Team Taino Martial Arts. And Eddie Torres is obviously a Daniel Gracie guy.
Right.
Riley will come in and work with the regular Renzo Gracie guys as well. And Manny Morales, who, even though it didn't go his way, put on a great show. He's a friend of mine, and that kid's a stud. He'll be back even better than before. But yeah, it was us three on there.
That's why I love CFFC, man. Like, there's so many young, talented fighters. Like, it's an awesome promotion. So I know I just mentioned Daniel Gracie, and you mentioned the heat inside of 2300. Is it true that you guys at Daniel Gracie train in like 95-degree, like just turn off the AC in there?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give you a little bit of background. Before we were in the new facility here at Globe Dye Works on Torresdale, which is also where I work coincidentally, we were either on American Street in North Philly in the basement, or we were at Coach John Marquez's old EEFC, Extreme Evolution Fight Camp location on Kensington and Frankfurt. Yeah. And so that Kensington and Frankfurt location was a little loft in North Philly. And when I tell you that when we closed the windows and the heat rose in the summer in that place, it was 100 degrees plus. It was 100 degrees plus. Coach John, that's a bad dude, and he does not believe in air conditioning when we're training. You know what I mean? So it gets fucking hot in the Globe Dyeworks building as well. Yeah, we'll hit like 98 degrees, 97 degrees. I think Sean Brady posted on his story a couple of days ago. Yeah, I figured that's what you were talking about. But yeah, no, it gets hot in there, man. And I'm glad that it does, because otherwise I don't know what I'd have done when I hit that cage, because it was a hot night in the 2300.
Yeah, our wrestling coach back in middle school, our gym wasn't, we used to train in a cafeteria of all places, and it wasn't air conditioned or heated. So he used to just let it rock like during practice. And that's what they say, man. They say like training in that kind of condition helps you when you're in a perfect condition. So
yes, sir. I agree. And I think it's important. I think it adds to our training. You know what I mean? Obviously, at the time, I'm like, God damn it, it's fucking hot right now. Yeah. But after the fact, I'm like, first of all, you feel light. I mean, you lose like 7 pounds training in there just in water weight. But and it's also, you know, it just is incredible for your endurance. You know what I mean? Like, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, man. I mean, other than like altitude, they say training in heat's the best way to increase your cardio and endurance. So looks like Coach John Marquez knows what he's doing. So let's talk about you and your fight now and the performance. I said it like before, I'll say it again. 4 minutes and 5 seconds, first round, submitted Marcus Leach by rear naked choke. Give me a little play-by-play from your eyes. You know, I don't have the video in front of me or you, but how'd it go down, man?
Yeah, so I mean, we came out, the whole camp, we knew he was more of like a boxer, striker kind of deal. You know, we knew, we found out actually 2 weeks before the fight, because there really wasn't much footage on Marcus going into the fight. Like, we like to do tape study just to get an idea of how this person moves, how they're going to fight. Obviously, a lot of athletes do. But we found out 2 weeks before, because we found his Instagram, that he was a southpaw. So that completely changed our game plan up. So, you know, Justin Burke, Diamond Striking, who is one of my main striking coaches, you know, we do a lot of work together. We came up with a whole new game plan in that last 2-3 weeks to prepare for a southpaw, because I think I've fought one other southpaw maybe in my career. And they can be a little tricky to deal with if you don't know to cut to the outside of that lead foot. And you let them set up their cross. So we knew he was a big guy. We knew he was going to have a lot of power in those hands. So the main thing we wanted to do was kind of get in his face right off the grip. There were 2 outcomes, 2 scenarios that we prepared for. Either Marcus would come out and try to stand and outstrike me, which, you know, I don't think is wise. But if you have a lot of confidence in your striking, then obviously that's always an option, especially as a southpaw. You can be tricky for an orthodox guy. I think I have probably the best striking when it comes to above 200 pounds. I think easily on the East Coast, I'm like top 3. You know what I mean? I think I have the hand speed. I think I have the technique and the background and experience. But it was either going to be that, or it was going to be that he would try to use his weight and tie me up right off the grip. Those were the 2 scenarios we knew were going to happen. And we were trying to mitigate both with lots of movement, lots of pressure, striking. And it just so happened that it happened to be the second outcome was his game plan. You know what I mean? We exchanged as we came out, we touched gloves. I kicked his leg a few times, and boom, right off the grip, he tries to put me on the cage. And so I was like, okay, now I'm going to feel how strong this 200, you know, he was 264 at weigh-ins. I saw him drinking a lot of water after weigh-ins. So he was probably like 270, 275 right of the fight, especially if he ate a meal. Big boy. And I was 232 at weigh-ins with a meal in my stomach. So realistically, if I didn't eat, I was probably like 229. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I felt his strength on the wall, and my main coach, who I've been with it for 11 years, Julio Rosario from Semper Fi Mixed Martial Arts Academy, where I teach. We have like a good connection, and we communicate really well in that cage. So as soon as we hit the cage wall, I looked to him and I felt his strength, and I knew I was as strong or athletic enough to mitigate that. And he was giving me really, really strong direction how to get off the wall. And as soon as I turned him and was controlling him on the wall, I was like, okay, I'm in good shape right now. Anywhere this goes, I'm fine. So, you know, we would get on the wall. I would turn him, right? He would tie me up. I would turn him. And then I gave him a couple good hard elbows, some good knees. And then we would come back to the center. And that was kind of the meta for the whole fight. Was I would sort of reverse him on the wall, short, dirty box him, and then we would get back to the center and exchange a little bit. There was some confusion with an eye poke in the middle, but eventually we ended up on the wall. I softened him with like a big elbow. And then in the last minute and a half of the round, I hit him with this this sort of judo trip that I've been working with my training partners. The funny part about that trip is I actually had never hit it off until like 2 weeks before the fight.
Really?
Yeah. And I've been working a lot with this guy, Chauncey, who's a great athlete, 275, 6'4", used to be a college football player. And I hit it off on him, and I just kind of put it in the back of my head, like, okay, if we end up on the wall, maybe I can use this. And he went over really easy. I sort of tapped that leg with my leg as I moved him with the body lock, the high body lock, and he went right over. And so I mounted. And by that point, I could tell he was a little tired, or actually really tired. He was kind of
stressed too.
Yeah, he was heaving. And so I started, I hit him with a couple of punches from mount, and he turned right over and got the hooks in. And there was a pipe cutter there. My wrist was, it was like automatic. My wrist went right under his chin, and we locked it in, and that was the end.
Yeah, I think it was the big elbow he hit against the cage. I think that was the point in the fight. Everything he did afterwards, he was like, oh crap, I'm not to this guy's level. And it was apparent, you capitalized on it.
I'll give Marcus one thing. He nice guy. I always try to maintain at least a sportsman-like relationship with the guys I fight. You know what I mean? No hard feelings at all. In any capacity, it's a sport. For 38 years old, you know what I mean? Coming into an enemy town, he handled the loss like a real gentleman. We got a drink afterwards. I bought him vodka cranberry, and we chatted a little bit. We talked about maybe linking up for some training down south where he lives. But the one thing about heavyweights I've found is that unless they're from like a really high level camp or it's their background, they don't have a lot of jujitsu, especially jujitsu defense, So actually in the back, I remember thinking, if I can get my hooks in and take his back, it's a done deal. So it just happened to go there. I guess that's where my head was.
Well, congrats, man. Look great. Shouts to Marcus Leach. Sounds like a great opponent and competitor. The picture you posted on Instagram, man.
It's hard, man. It goes hard. Feel free to
I already screenshotted and reshared it, but so he did tap, correct? Or did he go out? Because I thought he tapped and then he was kind of just like, all right, I'm still out.
I think he was exhausted, honestly. Yeah. I think he did tap, because I remember while I was working the pipe cutter, I saw his hand coming up like that to like hit the tap. And so I was trying to get the angle on the neck crank just right. But yeah, I guess after I tapped him, it was just, you have 230 pounds of man on your back, and you've just been fighting for 4 minutes. So he was done at the end.
Well, made for a sick picture, dude. So cold. Also, other than your win and the highlight submission finish and the great Instagram picture, you had another great moment. And it was post-fight, right into the camera. I believe, and I quote, I believe you said, I felt like shit tonight, but I beat his ass. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that sounds like me.
Had John Morgan cracking up, had me cracking up. It was such a the timing was amazing.
The thing is too, I did actually feel like shit in the back. I woke up kind of under the weather that day. But I had done a lot of thinking and a lot of meditating and a lot of praying and during the week. And I was like, you know what? On my worst day, I'm still better than my competition. You know what I mean? But in the back, I remember thinking, damn, my legs feel heavy. I'm sort of congested. I was coughing a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what was going on with me. But I thought maybe I overtrained. I wasn't sure. So I feel good now, but at the time I was definitely feeling kind of fatigued. And, I was glad that the fight ended as quickly as it did, because at the end of that round, I never gassed that quick, but I was feeling gassed.
Yeah. You said it was hot, and that might have something to do with it. But
that's,
So you said you're back in the gym Monday. Did that mean you were back in the gym 2 days ago or this coming Monday?
This coming Monday. So I promised Justin Burke from NPR, Diamond Striking, my striking coach, he said, take 2 weeks off. And I said, look, I'll compromise with you. I'll take 1 week off. All right.
Well, good. Take a week off and enjoy it, man.
I can't stay out for that long, but 1 week I can do.
Well, you deserve it, man. You deserve to sit on the couch, drink some beers, and lay out.
Thanks.
So when you get back to training, I know it's fresh off the win. What's next? Any idea? Are you still with CFFC?
Yeah, so I'm locked in with a 4-fight deal. I don't think that's confidential. If it is, we can edit it out afterwards.
You let me know. Yeah.
But I still got 2 fights left, and I love CFFC. They've done right by me so far. They put on a great show, and honestly, I'm eyeing up that. I said it before in one of my other interviews. I think with My MMA News, I said December 10th is what I'm looking at right now. They have a card in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock. I would love to be high up on the card there. I think I would pack the house, and I think if I want to get lofty, I would say give me a co-main slot. You know what I mean? Give me that contender shot, because I want that fucking belt, dog. Bad. You know what I mean? I had that amateur belt. I think I'm one of the baddest heavyweights in the country, let alone the region. So I want that gold around my waist. I like the feeling of it.
Love it, man. I agree fully. And you got my ticket, my fiance's ticket, and like 10 of my buddies' tickets if you get that co-main slot, CFFC.
Let's go, baby.
Man, sells out. But Ian, what do I got? What do I got left for you here? I got one more question, but I lost my track. So give me 1 second. Okay, cool. So talked about your fight, talked about the big win. You mentioned to me you had to sneak out while you were at work here into a staircase or something to do this interview. What do you do for a living, man? Because crazy to think that you work all day, go train all day, and then fight on the weekends. What a life.
Yeah. So, I make it work. You know what I mean? I have a couple of gigs that I do. I teach at Semper Fi Mixed Martial Arts Academy, and I make a little money doing that. It's my home gym. It's where I started. And I teach Muay Thai, kickboxing, occasionally jiu-jitsu. But I also work here at Globe Dye Works for, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Fuel Hunt, the apparel company. They do Sean Brady. They do Sean Brady and Crystal shirts, and they make rash guards and fight shorts. And, I know one of the owners, I knew him like well before I, really started working here. His name is Drew Beach. And he trained at Semper Fi Mixed Martial Arts Academy. And I remember I was working an office job. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I hated my office job. It was all data intake. And I was like, God, I hate that job. I really want to quit. I have to wear dress pants. And he was like, I'll give you a job at the warehouse. And I was like, sold. You know what I mean? So, I work like part-time here, bringing in orders, counting, sorting, folding shirts, that kind of stuff, sending out orders, and then teach. And then I also do private lessons on the side. So just as a little plug, any viewers who are looking for private MMA lessons, hit me up. But I make it work.
No, man, that's great. And I'm glad you're spreading your knowledge and love to, like, I'm not sure if you coach the youth, but even just people in general who you coach, man. It's an honor to have a 2-0 professional fighter as a coach, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I love teaching as much as I love fighting.
So there's a gym that just opened up like 3 minutes from my house, which is weird because I'm in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. But it's called Droog's MMA. Have you heard about that at all?
No, I haven't.
It's like AJ Diciani or whatever. But anyways, I'm starting up there soon, so I'll let you know. Maybe you can come in,
man.
And mess around, beat me up a little bit.
Absolutely. I'll take the drive out. You just let me know when.
Hell yeah, dude. But yeah, man, 2-0. Ian Allston got it done. Rear naked choke. Before you go 3-0, we'll do it again.
Yes, sir. You already know.
Yes,
First
sir.
man on my list.
Appreciate it, dude. Appreciate it. I like that you like me more than you like Hawani, Brett Okamoto. It means a lot. I'll get there someday too, and I'll have you on my ESPN show. Promise.
Yes, sir. I look forward to materialize that, my friend.
Yes, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Ian Allston, 2-0, going to be 3-0 before you know it come December. Thank you so much for the time in the interview, my man. Kick ass, dude.
Of course.